Our guest today is the former world boxing heavyweight champion, Frank Bruno. With a highly publicized career both in and out of the ring, Frank now dedicates himself to reducing the stigma attached to mental health with the Frank Bruno Foundation. Today, we're going to chat about his disciplined boxing mindset and how he's taken it forward into this next chapter of his life. Frank, so welcome. It's really an honor to have you with us today.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here. Better to be here than outside. It's cold.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice and warm in here. So the way we're going to kick this off, it's a little bit different, and it's the way that we'll kick off all of these podcasts.
Yeah.
It's by asking you, what's the one thing in your life right now that you're most grateful for?
Breathing.
Breathing.
Yeah, breathing.
Can you tell us more about that?
I'm grateful to be alive. If you weren't breathing, you wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. I was happy to be breathing.
Yeah, that resonates. What role has gratitude played in your life?
Gratitude has played a lot of things in my life. What is gratitude? Your way of thinking gratitude?
It's like holding an appreciation for life. So looking for things in your life that you can appreciate. And
I appreciate everything in my life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you stop breathing, you ain't got them things.
I mean, I think that comes through in, reading your books, looking at the things you've done on television, etc. It comes through that you're a person that appreciates life.
Everything.
You also have a big heart and, determination. So those kinds of qualities, can you tell us if there's a particular person or like moment or period in your life that you think have played a role in, I guess, defining your character, defining who you are?
My dad died when I was 14, so I didn't spend much time with him. I was away in not prison, but a proof school, where you've got to stay there and drop some manners on you, you know what I mean? But my dad appreciated that when I was here. I've known him up until 14, so he taught me a lot of different. He is the main one that gave me inspiration to do whatever I wanted to do in boxing.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And
any other people that you've learned lessons from?
Yeah, when I left school, I found the teacher was very, very good. The sports teacher at my ball store that I went to there, and he told me some tips here and there. It's lasted in my life. I was more determined than I make out. The teacher told me, but he's a good man to sit down with him and talk about anything. He's like a psychologist. He's a teacher, but he came to the school for a purpose.
Wow.
He taught me a lot of different things, about life and calming yourself down. Because when I was dyslexic, I was getting angry all the time, and they couldn't understand why I was getting angry. But I think having bipolar brings out a different side of you,
Yeah.
Which is not a vicious side, like I'm going to kill anybody, but you can be a little bit snappy.
Yeah, for sure.
Every person that I learn lessons off. Everyone's got their different lyrics, how they do things, but I'm not a thief, but I'd rather sit down there and take little good bits of a person or whatever was good. The bad, I just keep out of the way of that.
For sure. And I believe that, it's not only the experts out there that we can learn from. We can learn from each other.
Definitely,
we can be inspired by each other.
Yeah.
And so obviously you have, you've achieved a lot in your life.
Yeah.
I mean, not many people can call themselves a former heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Man, you got to be grateful. That's the belt is at home. You still got to get on with life.
Of course, of course. So obviously, and we can chat about this in a bit. There's stuff beyond the belt, obviously.
Yeah.
But can you speak to what you felt were like the qualities or the things that you drew on in yourself to help move you from that 16-year-old boy who had an intention to become world heavyweight champion to becoming world heavyweight champion?
I had that feeling. My dad had that feeling. He must have because he bought me my first glove when I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
And he's always teaching me about life and not to trust this one or do whatever. But I just nick little bits off my father and I play with him through life. It's only simple. Sometimes you meet somebody and they can be as ignorant as a pig. And you don't get the vibes with them and you don't want to even be in the same room as them. But I just keep it on the vibe and grateful to be alive and very, very grateful what's going on in the world.
And I've heard you say before, or I might have read this, that you might get knocked down sometimes, but you always get back up, and there's no other way for you. Can you tell us a bit more about that? Like, why is there no other way? Like, how's it shown up to you?
I had the opportunity from when I was 18, 20s, borderline 40 years ago. I always wanted to be a boxer. A sportsman in them days weren't paid off. They didn't get the sort of money that boxing did. Muhammad Ali was out there flying the flag for British boxing, the world thing, and my determination, my willpower was to be a boxer.
I've also read that there might have been another path you could have taken.
Oh.
You've mentioned crime, gangs, etc.
Yeah.
So to me, it seems like having that real strong vision and that discipline around boxing was a really important thing for you.
Very.
It's
Focus,
so important.
man. Is looking after you, is looking after yourself,
Yeah.
appreciating yourself,
Yeah.
and doing the good what's for yourself mentally and physically.
Yeah,
It don't take rocket science. There's 24 hours in one day. If you can't give 2 hours out of that 24 hours, I think, but you got to look after yourself at all times.
Definitely. So you mentioned focus there. I was actually thinking a few nights ago about boxing and why it can be such a compelling thing in one's life. I think obviously there's the adrenaline surge, the competitiveness, that's compelling. But then I was wondering, to box, you need to be like razor focused and laser focused and be so present in the moment, in the
very
now.
Fit as well. Concentration, breathing, timing.
Definitely. Yeah, it's an interesting way to think about boxing. You do
Discipline
boxing.
is one of the big things in life. And in boxing, especially when I talk to them in the gym, you got to have discipline. But to have discipline, you got to have concentration and determination. And
that's a good point. To have discipline, you need concentration.
Yeah.
It's really true, because these days our attention is being like pulled in all different directions, and therefore your ability to like focus and concentrate is really diminished. And like, if you realize that what you are able to pay attention to literally defines your experience, and if you don't have control over that, that's a bad state of affairs.
Yeah, definitely.
The media has obviously shared a lot about some of your struggles that you've encountered, and you've been open about them in your books. Let me be frank. And I guess before I ask a question, first of all, just to acknowledge and honor that, speaking about one's challenges around mental health is a way to help normalize it for other people, and to...
It helps men more than women. Like, men are very upright and don't want to admit whatever's, wrong with them. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're right. I mean, men do find it generally more difficult to open up, to talk about their challenges. I mean, there's, cowboys don't cry, big boys don't cry, etc. But knowing that, like, what do you think it's going to take? And I mean, I think, for example, you writing that book is one of the ways, but what's it going to take for men to open up more into that and being more comfortable about speaking about the challenges?
Man don't like to admit defeat. And, sometimes they'll beat themselves up to the dying day with stiffness and trying to put if they've got to accept that some days you have bad days, some days you might have to take one tablet to help you get better, and there's help out there.
Definitely. But you mentioned adversity, and men are afraid to admit defeat, etc. But defeat or encountering challenges, like you have to have that before you encounter the good stuff. Like it's almost how we grow in life. So there shouldn't be any shame around talking about it.
It shouldn't be no shame, but men, you try to talk that to a man, they don't like to discuss their business. Full stop. Want no one to know they're doing whatever. And I think that's one of the downfalls of mental health.
Definitely.
If you stiffen up all the time and you're aggressive, you're going to burn yourself out.
Yeah.
I'm not saying every man's like that, but I know a lot of the Englishmen and boys and whatever, they don't want to admit.
I mean, I hear you, and I think one of the reasons for that is that there's this stigma around mental health, that even that word mental health is associated just with problems. When it's not actually, like, mental health, and I think you believe this, it's something we all have all of the time. We have good days, we have bad days.
Definitely.
We don't all get diagnosed with mental illness, but we all experience periods of poor mental health. And we should be able to talk about both of those things, like the problems, but also the positive aspects of our mental health.
Right.
What are your thoughts around that?
I met a lot of people, and I thought I was bad in having bipolar, but they're more serious than me. It gives me strength and encouragement to go forward, because a lot of people are in pain. And I know that you have a lot of compassion for those people. You have a lot of compassion for people who are struggling. This compassion that you have, I mean, one of the things that I guess it's led to is your foundation. So the Frank Bruno Foundation. So tell us a bit more about that. The foundation is just to help people somewhere in the community where you can go. There's a lot of people starving, they haven't got a job or whatever. We've got certain different people in our offices and whatever can help them, show them the diet, look after themselves, not be sort of like tense, because with that, we've had about 1,000 any balls, like 2,000 people come through the gym, and the gym is not finished yet. So it'll be, hopefully in a couple of months it'll be finished. But we've still got people coming in and appreciating. It's a lot of them just come down here just to talk.
Definitely.
Some of them just come down here to try the yoga and do different moves and just get out of their house. Even kids who think they're tough and whatever, people that don't get not a silver spoon in their mouth have to work very, very hard to where they are.
Yeah, for sure. So they're coming there to learn about how to connect with others, to talk about their experiences, to listen to each other, learning discipline.
It's exercise, not sparring and hitting the bag and going through. There's about a 5 or 6 year old girl there. She loves it. Her mum's watching her and her dad's there, and she's going at it at the pads and holding up the trainer. She's not looking at nobody but the pads, and that's what it's nice to see. Yeah, she's only about, she can't be no more than 8.
That's amazing.
Little thing. And mum and dad bring her down there, but they can't. Every Thursday she comes down. It's sweet.
Wow,
very nice.
That's beautiful. So on that note, there's the problems side of mental health, and we should have support to be able to address those problems.
Definitely.
But then there's also the idea of like proactively looking after and building our mental health.
Yeah.
An analogy we sometimes use is this idea of, when it comes to our dental health, we brush our teeth twice a day to prevent problems and to create health. Yeah. Why can't we take a similar approach to our mental health?
Yeah, definitely.
So like, for me, it's stuff like meditation and journaling and running and taking my dog for walks. And sometimes I dance upstairs when no one's watching. That kind of stuff, it gets me...
Do your things, your house, you pay for it.
Yeah, but it gets you into your body and it nurtures my mental health. So
that's good.
What are the things that you draw on to look after your own mental health?
I've got a gym at home. I really push myself. I hurt my leg at the moment, but I'll be getting back soon.
And I think I've read that you sometimes do yoga, sometimes do meditation.
I do yoga and meditation quite a lot.
Yeah, that's good.
If you're a boxer, you got to wait all the time. You get used to learning how to deal with the weighting. Yeah, no, definitely. It's almost a case of investing in your well-being, investing in your mental health, investing in your happiness. It's how we should think about it. I think everybody should think about it. If you work hard, you're allowed to treat yourself, and it's important. You've got to look after yourself, and you've got to love yourself. Because a lot of people say, "Oh, I love you, I care for you," or whatever. But you personally, when it comes down to it, Judgment Day, man's got to look after himself. Happy day, you still got to look after yourself. Yeah. Rainy day, summer day, still links into whatever. We all got some form of mental health.
Exactly. And I guess there's a few different ways to think about that. There's, first of all, as a society, we need to support people better.
Right.
But also we need to empower people to understand how to also take proactive care of their mental health.
Definitely.
So it's a two-pronged thing. What I'd like to also hear your perspective on, so like I said, there's this element of where how we support others is really important, and then also how we take responsibility to some degree for how we move forward. It doesn't mean taking responsibility for all the negative things that have happened to you, but like finding something that you can take responsibility for to improve your mental health. I know I read somewhere that the Serenity Prayer has been like a source of strength for you in your life. So that's, I might get this wrong, but it's the God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Right, that's a lyric, that is.
And that idea of learning to accept things that you cannot change,
definitely,
but also acknowledging things that you can change.
Balance.
How does that show up for you at the moment in your life? Like, what things have you just decided to accept, and what things are you working on?
I accept certain different things, but I can't keep on helping other people without helping myself.
Yes.
And some things about life, people get jealous, don't want you to do well, always glad if there's badness happening in your life. I would never be like the people, but there are wicked people like that out there.
You're right. I mean, the world, society does need to change, and we need to somehow become a more compassionate society rather than just pure competition. We need to also recognize that the problems out there in the world are like problems within ourselves. So we shouldn't keep on blaming everyone else out there, and take responsibility in some way. I think it's really important. Like you mentioned before, and it relates to this, and I'd love to just I'd love for you to expand on this a bit, but you mentioned, I think I've heard you say quite a few times that we are on borrowed time.
On borrowed time, no doubt. I'm afraid.
But it's a powerful thing to acknowledge, like that we are on borrowed time, you know, like, or at least knowing that we have limited time on this earth. Like we shouldn't waste it on, you know, focusing too much on the negative. We shouldn't waste it too much on putting the blame out there and everyone else. You know, we should use our time to like
pressure, look after yourself, and get more knowledge. No matter what you do,
exactly.
Knowledge is one of the key things in life. You know what I mean? Knowledge is one of the powerful things in life. And if you know knowledge, you shock people with what you know and how you can feed or get your point over.
I agree. Yeah, knowledge about the world, knowledge about yourself. So it takes like a curiosity.
Definitely, man. That you're never done learning.
And what about, I read that you spoke about the power of solitude for you. So like you mentioned, like you're often happiest when alone. I guess you maybe, you know, perhaps you're an introvert where you get your energy from being alone. I don't think I'm an
introvert. I just like my own peace. Through my life, I've loved people. I've paid for this. I've done that. And a lot of them have just chucked mud in my face. So I've had to change my life a little bit around and keep these negativity people away from me and get in my life the way it should do in my own mind. Yeah.
So I guess it speaks to what you mentioned earlier about it's really important to take care of yourself first.
Definitely. You've got to look after number one. Is yourself.
And would you agree that that same thinking can be applied to like taking care of yourself as in like your health? Because
it's very important.
It's that oxygen, you know, that oxygen mask analogy where you know, do it for yourself first and then your child, etc. Like if you're not taking care of yourself, it's very difficult to then care for others.
You have to mentally and physically. Sometimes you have good days and sometimes you have bad days, but
that's an important thing for, I think, everyone just to recognize that we all have good days, we all have bad days, that it's normal to feel low sometimes, obviously. Another thing that you've mentioned a few times, and I mean this really resonates with me, and I'd love you to maybe tell us how this shows up for you, but you'd mentioned about being true to yourself, you know, authenticity. Like I believe that's really important when it comes to, you know, our mental health as well. Like what does that mean for you? What does being true to yourself mean?
Being true to yourself, if you go and look at the mirror, sometimes you're a critic, the best critic there can be. You as a human being, if you look good, talk to yourself, talk to the mirror and say you look good. If you don't look bad, do something about it. It's not rocket science if you can do, because some days people work double shifts, have 2 jobs and they may not be able to do that. But I think 10 minutes, half an hour, out that 24 hours, half an hour, if not stretching that hour.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the payoff for that 1 hour a day spent like nurturing yourself is way more than just the value of that 1 hour.
Yeah, definitely. But some don't agree with it, some do.
It's about our values, really. Hey, it's about really, I guess we get so swept up in the world, like almost like on that hamster wheel, and we often don't take a step back and ask ourselves what's important in our lives. And I think, although it's been so difficult, you know, the pandemic, it's invited us to actually reflect on, okay, what's actually important in our lives. And it's not just getting to the top of the corporate ladder. You know, there's other things that are
definitely, especially your health is the first one.
Of course.
And are you smoking? Are you drinking too much? Are you stressed out? There's always things like that go on in people each night. I think we've been a year and a bit, but we're locked in the house, and I bet there's been some swearing and people talking about other people and the pressure of the work. It ain't easy.
It reminds me of, again, coming back to like how one approaches adversity. There's going to be the negative impact for sure, but if you can like find this place in yourself that's always seeking, okay, what can I learn from this? I think that's the way that we can approach adversity.
Definitely.
And it seems like that's how you've approached adversity.
No doubt.
I mean, sometimes it's the simple things, just literally, because I do this sometimes, just look out and watch a squirrel for a while, or watch a bird. That kind of thing can bring you joy in the
deep
moment.
Thinking,
Definitely. Anything that can pull us out of our autopilot that we get stuck on is good for us.
Definitely.
So we spoke about some of the things that you do, and what I'd like to get across here is that, yes, it's important to exercise, it's important to meditate, etc., but it shouldn't be like a chore, or like it should ideally be things that you enjoy.
Definitely.
Things that you enjoy.
You go and do it more.
Definitely. So, out of all the things, what are the activities that you most enjoy? That you know.
I like doing yoga because it's difficult to do, but it's a nice and relaxing thing. I'm a heavyweight, and I've struggled in certain different ways. I think yoga, because once I go in the gym, I get in the gym and I want to work all the time. I don't pay, which I do pace myself, but I want to be at a certain fitness to get your mind going. But I always testing myself. You can't go in the gym doing the same thing all the time. You've got to shock your body and do different things. That's why I was taught by a lot of good people.
You need a bit of balance.
You've got to have the balance, you know? Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Yeah. Are there any messages or insights that you've discovered in your own life that you feel could help people who are encountering, challenges around their mental health, who are feeling low or feeling anxious? Are there things that have worked for you that you feel could be helpful for others?
When you're down and you're coming back and feeling very, very refreshed, take the dog for a walk is very, very important. But one of the most important things, if you can go somewhere where you've been, like if you got married or you close your eyes and you think of a nice beach, wherever you think of a nice beach, Jamaica, Negril, it's just best to try and get things to chill you down. Each year, to say, I'm going away for 3 weeks, I don't want no one to get in contact with me, so you can go away, come back to work, and you're a new person.
It's so important. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
So many of us are just pushing. I mean, that just leads to burnout.
When someone says slow down, take it easy, you got to slow down, because anything you do in life and you get the buzz of it, you like to it, but manic ain't good for your heart. Manic ain't good for your brain, so you got to pace yourself.
And I guess, you can equate that to the boxing ring. If you just train non-stop, you're going to injure yourself.
To hold, take your time, keep the opponent at your pace rather than let him control everything and focus on what he's doing, because one look that way can get you a cut.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
It's almost the way that we approach exercise, which is, you train and then you recover. The recovery part is so important. That's how we should approach life.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about things that are going on at the moment? Like, I know you have a new book coming out. Can you tell us about that?
The book is coming out. Last time is being Frank. And it's just, I can't believe half of the things that I've done. I forgot half of the things. Not forgot half of the things, but I've done so many different things. But I do like things to take me away from what I do. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you have a laugh in whatever you do, but sometimes you don't have a laugh. Yeah. But I like having a laugh.
Yeah, of course.
To take the pressure of what I got to do
100%.
in life. Yeah.
So, when you were 16, you declared that you were going to become heavyweight champion of the world. So you had an intention, you had a vision for your life, and then you achieved that. Yeah. So I'd just love to know now. So now you're 60. What is do you have intentions and a vision for your life now as well?
Yeah, I'm willing to work till I'm about 70 and just go get a nice holiday home abroad with a little bit of sun and just chill out. Don't have no stress. Don't want to people know where I live in or whatever. Just have that as a holiday home and recharge my battery. Because a lot of business people, how they succeed, they get away and recharge their battery to go and do a good job.
Maybe it comes down to appreciating the really important things in life.
Definitely. Balance and, enjoy and not stress out so much.
Just want to thank you and again, just honor the stuff you've done, talking about your mental health, showing your spirit to the world. That's kind of stuff that I think can inspire people. So,
cheers, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Brilliant.
Cheers, boss.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode and another brilliant guest. Flourish is a podcast from Unmind, the mental health platform transforming the world of workplace well-being. To find out more, visit unmind.com or follow us on socials at UnmindHQ. You can also find me, your host, on Instagram at steve@unmind. See you next time.